Hi, I'm Tera Erway, filling in for Jessica Lahr. And on this week's edition of FLX Weekly, State Senator Chuck Schumer was in Seneca Falls on Wednesday afternoon. This week's most clicked-on news at FingerLakes1.com and what's happening across the region this holiday weekend. But first, a look at your 4th of July weather outlook. The month of June was the wettest on record in the Finger Lakes, with rain on 22 of the 30 days. Thankfully, the calendar has turned to July, and we finally have a forecast with multiple gorgeous summer-like days in a row on tap. Friday will bring plenty of sunshine with comfortable highs in the mid-70s. On Saturday, more sun and highs in the upper 70s will make for a perfect Independence Day. The gorgeous weather will continue on Sunday and into the work week with mostly sunny skies and daytime highs around 80. For the complete local forecast and live radar images, visit our local weather center online or on the FingerLakes1.com Android or iPhone app. In the news this week, authorities say an 81-year-old woman apparently was killed by her husband days before both of their bodies were found after a Sunday night fire at their Palmyra apartment. The Wayne County Sheriff's Office says Constance Adele had cuts on her body and was dead before firefighters discovered her body Sunday night at the Park Hill Apartments. Police say her husband, 82-year-old Donald Adele, also had cuts on his body. Officials say he was apparently alive when the fire started, but his wife may have been dead up to 5 days. Investigators believe the couple inflicted the cuts on each other during a fight. Seneca County Sheriff's investigators arrested 33-year-old Moises Ruiz of Geneva on 2 counts of burglary and grand larceny following a search warrant executed at Ruiz's Herbert Street home, where investigators recovered a large quantity of stolen merchandise. Investigators allege that Ruiz forced his way into the Boathouse Beer Garden and the shops at Traders Village in the town of Romulus. Once inside, Ruiz stole cash and merchandise and damaged property. Ruiz was arraigned in the Romulus Town Court and was remanded to the Seneca County Correctional Facility without bail. The investigation is ongoing and other suspects are being sought. In the wake of the prison escape in northern New York last month, a tip in Auburn led officials to an inmate's plans to escape from the Auburn Correctional Facility last week, placing the facility on lockdown for several days. The lockdown was lifted after a prison-wide search was completed, according to Taylor Voigt, a State Department of Corrections spokeswoman. In the early hours of Friday morning, Seneca County Sheriff's deputies Jeffrey Stour administered naloxone to a 40-year-old Waterloo man who had ingested opiates and was unconscious and barely breathing. The man then regained consciousness and normal breathing and was transported to Geneva General Hospital by North Seneca Ambulance, where he was treated. All Seneca County Sheriff's deputies and investigators have received training and carry Narcan kits in all sheriff's vehicles. This is the second successful save made by sheriff's deputies who have administered the Narcan. Senator Chuck Schumer was in downtown Seneca Falls on Wednesday afternoon at the Women's Hall of Fame to talk about the proposal to put a woman on the $10 bill. Here's FingerLakes1.com's exclusive coverage of the senator's press conference.
Right, so we're all here because this is an important day, and I'm so glad to be back. As you know, I care a lot about the Hall of Fame, and I care a lot about women's rights, and so we're really great to be here once again at the Women's Hall of Fame, which is one of the great attractions of Seneca Falls, keeper of a truly historic legacy for our country and really our world. Nearly 100 years ago, this site didn't exist. 100 years ago, women did not have a Hall of Fame. They did not have institutions to celebrate their accomplishments, their history. But for a small group of women, they had something far different, an idea. They had an idea, novel at the time, yet so common to us today, it's hard to believe that they had to clear so many hurdles to see their idea become a reality. It was the idea that women should be treated equally under the law. Seems sort of normal today. Seems like anyone who wouldn't do it would be regressive, but it was a revolutionary idea back then. And to have the right to vote, for instance, was so important. Women deserve to be, one of the most important ways women could be treated equally under the law was the right to vote. To have the right to vote is a voice. It's to have your voice heard, independent of outside forces or pressure. Without a vote, women were silenced. Without a vote, women were marginalized. And their opinions were not heard because they were not considered. When you said women could vote, you're saying they're not on the same level as men, intellectually, morally, as human beings. Plain and simple. Now, you don't need me to tell you how wrong that perspective was. But we do know that it took a brave group of women and men to stand up to the masses, to fight, to have their voices heard. And it was people like Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott, along with 300 other brave people who said the status quo was wrong. No more, they said, would half the country's population be silenced. And out of that idea, the rights movement, women's rights movement, was sparked. It was right here in Seneca Falls that these women got together in 1848 at the Women's Rights Convention. It was right here, where we're standing, that they presented and passed a declaration of sentiments which demanded they finally have the right to vote. Many of these women were never recognized, at least not in their lifetime, for what they were advocating. In fact, many were ridiculed. Many were actually ostracized from society. They lost their jobs. Their families were threatened, simply because they spoke out in the name of equality. Plain and simple. But they, and the women who carried the torch after them, as we all know, were ultimately successful. Because of them, the 19th Amendment was ratified in the 20th, it was ratified in 1920, guaranteeing the women the right to vote. It was a major victory, not just for women, but for all Americans. And it started right here in Seneca Falls, right here where we stand. We stand on hallowed ground. It's that simple. That brings me to why I'm here today. Our schools have taught us, our children and our grandchildren have been taught about the women's suffrage movement, which began here 100 years ago. Their accomplishments have finally been celebrated in books, on the screen, throughout our society. And now, we have the chance to celebrate in another way. As everyone here today knows, just 2 weeks ago, the Treasury Department announced that the $10 bill would be redesigned to finally feature a woman. This is great news and a fitting tribute to the women who shaped our country, not only during the time of the women's suffrage movement, but throughout our entire history. Better yet, this new bill will be put in circulation in 2020, just as we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. And that's why I'm here today. As the home of the Women's Rights National Historical Park and the National Women's Hall of Fame, Seneca Falls is the ideal site to begin the discussion of which woman should grace our paper notes and make a further mark on our history. You see, in the coming months, the Treasury Department will be holding town hall meetings all over the country to allow people to come and share their thoughts on who they want to see on the bill. Well, Seneca Falls was the birthplace of one of our country's most important political and social movements. And because of its unique historical standing, Seneca Falls should serve as host to one of the public input forums to discuss which great American women will be featured on the redesigned currency. That's what I'm asking for. So today I'm asking Secretary Lew to select Seneca Falls as one of these sites. I personally would like it to be the first site. I don't know what plans they have, if they have to do that in Washington, D.C. or something, but I'd like it to be the first site, but it should certainly be a site and an early site. And it's only fitting that the input of a town so ingrained in the history of women's suffrage and so much playing an integral part, that it be the place we have one of these forums. And I am hopeful that a New Yorker will be on our currency as this nation celebrates the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. It will serve as a lasting testament to the courage of the women and men who started the movement here in the Rochester-Finger Lakes region that led to women getting on the ballot, a giant step forward in the progress of our democracy. And at the same time, I'm also announcing the launch of a new campaign that will allow you, New York State voters and residents from one end of the state to the other, to have your voice heard on this issue. I'm asking New Yorkers across the state to let their voice be heard. Starting today, you can visit my website, schumer.senate.gov/vote-today, and vote on a poll on which great American woman should be featured on our currency. We have a lot of great New Yorkers to choose from, many of whom are from this area. We have Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. We have Harriet Tubman, who was so instrumental in bringing freedom, who lived down the road in Auburn, and who's right here. I was, just as I've helped out this site get some federal dollars, we were just able to make the Tubman site a National Historical Park. And we look forward to that being covered. I was there a few months ago to talk about that. And, of course, there are other New York women who might be available. What about Eleanor Roosevelt? A great campaigner for women's rights. So when you think of the woman who should be on our currency, New Yorkers are at the top of the list. And today I'm asking New Yorkers to help build a campaign for New Yorkers to come to my website and vote for one of these 4 women or someone else they might add. And if you're a New Yorker and you think there's someone who's not a New Yorker who should be on the list, you can add that to the list and let people vote on that too, although we prefer a New Yorker. Okay. The victories that happened here should be remembered forever on a piece of currency that we handle every day. Honoring one of New York's pride and joy would be a great victory for our state. So I encourage everyone to go online and have your voice heard. Being able to provide feedback on such an important issue is exactly why these women fought so long and hard. And as people vote for these great New Yorkers, it'll encourage them to come here to Seneca Falls and come to this historic site. So it's also going to be a boon to our tourism and our economy and everything else here in Seneca County, in Seneca Falls, in the Finger Lakes region. So, I encourage you to go online and have your voice heard. Provide feedback on an important issue. That's why these women fought so long and hard, and in our own little way, by having everybody vote, we are sort of, in a small, little way, imitating the grand thing that they did and accomplished that began right here. So I want to thank everyone for being here as we launch this campaign, as we push to have Seneca Falls as a location for one of the first town halls, and as we open up our balloting process, our unofficial but proud balloting process, to determine who would be the best New York woman to be on our currency. Seneca Falls, in conclusion, is where women and many others gathered to advance the cause of human rights, civil rights, in the name of creating a better union. These intrepid advocates knew the true meaning of democracy and dedicated their lives to making our nation more closely reflect that ideal. Seneca Falls is where they made their voices heard and should similarly be a place where today's voices are heard once again as how to best honor their achievements. Thank you very much.
We'll be right back with the week's top local photos and a chat with the town of Seneca Falls Police Chief Stu Peenstra on the end of the manhunt for 2 escaped murderers from the Clinton Correctional Facility.
So many sights to see on the internet, but for everything local, there's no place you can get it. At FingerLakes1.com. Come on over to FingerLakes1.com. Make us your homepage. News, weather, sports, and fun. Log on to Finger Lakes 1.
Local news from over 40 sources, custom local weather, over 10 hours of live broadcasts and podcasts every week on your computer, tablet, television, or smartphone. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
www.fingerlakes1.com. Come on and join the fun, log on to Fingerlakes1.
www.fingerlakes1.com.
A light week for photos, which is rare this time of year, but I bet our local photographers are experiencing rain fatigue like everyone else. Our first photo shows a lakeshore path at Camp Damali in Sodas Point on a foggy Saturday afternoon while Chris Trine was touring the Masonic property. It's easy to take our scenic views of winding roads and colorful farms dotting the countryside between the lakes for granted, as they are everyday scenes, but every once in a while, Rachel Burkholder likes to see things from a tourist's perspective to fully appreciate our beautiful region. This is somewhere on the west side of Seneca Lake late last week. Nancy Jacobs posted this photo of an immature male rose-breasted grosbeak who came with its strikingly hued father to her feeder in South Bristol on Sunday morning. Over the next year, its plumage will undergo a complete change. The buff-streaked breast with a few pink feathers on the sides will become a vivid pinky-red triangle on its white breast, strongly contrasted with black upper parts and white underparts. Lisa Dupre captured the raging water at Hector Falls after all the recent rain, with the white water of the falls shining in Monday afternoon sun in Schuyler County. You can check out more recent local photos by clicking on the Photos link at the top of our homepage or by tapping the Photos tab on our app. In local theaters this week, John Connors sends Kyle Reese back in time to protect Sarah Connor, but when he arrives in 1984, nothing is as he expected it to be as Terminator Genisys hits area cinemas on Friday. Also showing this weekend, Ted 2, Disney's Inside Out, Magic Mike XXL, and Jurassic World. For movie times at theaters close to you, click on our movie times at our homepage or on the fingerlakes1.com app. There are tons of fireworks scheduled across the region over the next few days. On Friday night, fireworks displays are scheduled for Myers Park and Landing, Black Rock Speedway in Dundee, Lachlan Road in Geneva, and Clute Memorial Park in Watkins Glen. On Saturday night, displays are set for Hammondsport, Sodas Point, the Penn Yan Airport, Kershaw Park in Canandaigua, Americana Winery in Interlaken, and over Van Cleef Lake in downtown Seneca Falls. There are a ton of local events slated across the region this weekend. For a full list of activities and details, visit our community calendar. If you missed it on FingerLakes1.tv this week, on Monday, Seneca Falls Chief of Police Stu Peenstra was in studio as a guest on the Weber This Week show, where he discussed the gigantic manhunt that captured the nation's attention for 2 escaped murderers in northern New York.
Stu Peenstra is my special guest this morning, and of course the big topic in regards to law enforcement, unless you just got back from Ukraine or Moscow, you may have not heard. 2 convicted murderers were on the run out of the Clinton Correctional Facility. Stu, you told me you were familiar with that area. I think the resources the governor put together with all the agencies, and going through those forests, and you saw 1,000, 1,200, 800 different officers from different walks of life in different agencies. I sat there and thought, wow, they're ever going to catch these dudes? And we can finally say that they did catch them. One was killed I guess he approached the Canadian border near Malone, and then the second one, Sweat, got shot trying to run away from an officer a day or so ago. Amazing to me anyways, the outpouring of resources, because I think Governor Cuomo made it a #1 priority to get them, one way or another, get them.
You have to.
Yep.
I mean, these are 2 very bad guys, and they should not be in our community. And I can't imagine trying to organize all those different entities coming together, but they did, and whoever organized that and the command post did a fantastic job, and hats off to them for catching these two guys and getting them out of our community before they were able to get away, because these are two people that need to be locked up.
What's mind-boggling to me, Stu, and of course, having gone through Auburn Correctional Facility years and years ago, getting a tour, and I was amazed at the closeness that the guards watch the inmates, because that's a maximum security prison, as you all know. And people kid me about people who live in Auburn, New York. They don't even know it's there. It's been there so long. It's pretty scary.
Yeah.
And there's some bad dudes inside of that facility. It's mind-boggling to me, a couple of issues that just drove my mentality crazy. First off, I believe that Sweat and Matt were in a honor block, and that was for being good prisoners, and they were able to be in this special unit. And also, I understand they were allowed to wear civilian clothes, which I understand the policy has been changed effective immediately. That kind of blows me away that, A, you would be giving 2 convicted murderers honor code status for being good prisoners. That drives me nuts. And B, the fact that the prison authorities, the warden or whatever, would allow them to put on civilian clothes because, having never worn an orange jumpsuit or any other kind of prison suit, it would seem to me, Stu, to be common sense why you would do that in case of just what happened. And it just blows my mind.
Yeah, I don't get that part either.
I don't either. I understand
I've been through Dannemora. I don't remember that portion of that.
Yeah.
I've been recently through Auburn. They have an honor system like that where they earn certain things, but they're all dressed the same over in Auburn.
Yeah.
And they have the ability to work in specific areas if they're good, depending on what they've done.
Right.
I don't think they classify everybody together there. So, I was shocked to hear that they were able to wear civilian clothes as well. But they do their thing there. I don't know.
And I heard shortly thereafter that the next day the policy was being changed.
Yeah, I would think so.
What amazes me is that, according to the reports out of CNN and everywhere else, that when this story broke, the 2 escaped through a manhole. And according to reports, a neighbor, they had run in the back of their yard, and the neighbor saw these 2 individuals at once, immediately after them getting through the manhole up. And Matt or Sweat said, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're in the wrong direction. Sorry." And they turned around and went the other way. And my thought process, even though I have a minder's mentality back in the 60s, I'm thinking if you had an orange jumpsuit on, you and me and Jimmy would be calling up 911.
Yeah.
You would think.
Well, they worked in the tailor shop,
Yeah.
so who knows what they had with them, and they were able to put together the dummies for inside their beds with
Scary.
human hair, and it's the prisons are amazing places. They really are. They're very intriguing to me.
Yeah.
For a long time, and going in and seeing how they work internally is amazing. So they do certain things to keep control.
Right.
Obviously, that situation wasn't a problem until it became a problem, and now they change it. So.
Well, I saw Cuomo yesterday in his conference that they're investigating the prison system at that particular prison, and I guess all of them in New York State, to make sure that things are maybe updated or changed.
It's amazing to me that these 2 individuals got out of a place like that. Like I said, I've been in Dannemora, I've been in Auburn, and how you could get out of those places is beyond me. They definitely had help, for sure.
Man. I think the classic line was the work that Matt and Sweat went through, folks, talking to Stu Pincer, chief of police in the town of Seneca Falls, about the story that has captured literally the nation, especially New York State, to drill and to go into those lanes and those pipe fitting areas and to drill. And I know they got help from the lady, Mitchell, and now they arrested a correction officer. It's a movie to be made, obviously. It's going to be made, no doubt. I understand they're even casting as we speak. This definitely will be a movie down the road. It's just mind-boggling that somebody in the command area would have figured this out, but maybe not. I mean, it was well thought out.
It is truly amazing. Once in a lifetime thing, and these things that they cut through, these pipes, they're thick.
Yeah.
So that's not like your average Home Depot saw that you're cutting into. These are from what I'm being told, 1/4 inch, 3/4 inch thick pipes that that they cut through.
Also on Monday night, find out who shot their age and at what local course in this short clip from the Finger Lakes Golfer podcast.
Hey, what'd you shoot the last time you played 18 holes, Bob?
Last time I shot, when was the last time I played 18? Wednesday I shot 81.
Did you? That's a pretty good score. You know who else shot 81?
Would that be Sandy Burton?
Yeah, 81-year-old Sandy Burton at Cortland Country Club back on June 20th. Shot her age of 81.
Good for her.
Yeah, that's. I think shooting your age is one of the most impressive feats in all of golf.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably less people do that than get holes in ones over their career. Wouldn't you say?
Well, if you're playing, if you're my age and you're playing 9 holes and you shoot your age, that's pretty good.
Yeah, well, we're talking 18 holes.
Oh, okay.
We're talking,
All right.
you know, a guy in his 70s, even if they used to shoot in their 70s, probably struggles to shoot in the 70s when they're in their 70s.
Sure.
But they got to put it together. There's a few guys at our course who have shot their age, but it's always impressive. So
5,
congratulations to Sandy
4,
Burton,
3.
81 at age 81.
Check out all of this week's episodes at the all-new FingerLakes1.tv or on the Finger Lakes One TV tab on our app. All of our audio programming is also streaming in rotation on Finger Lakes One Radio. Thanks for joining me for another edition of FLX Weekly. Jessica will be back next week, Wednesday afternoon after 2 weeks off, and be sure to catch us on Time Warner Cable Channel 12 every Thursday night at 6 p.m. and Friday night at 7:30 p.m. For FingerLakes1.com, I'm Tera Erway. Have a fantastic holiday weekend.